A note on the author. Professor Christopher Chen is the founder and chairman of Advanced Center for Reproductive Medicine, formerly known as Christopher Chen Center for Reproductive Medicine in Singapore, and an IVF pioneer who's made several important contributions to advance the cause of fertility medicine. His expertise stems from 49 years in practice and treating patients from around the world who have traveled to see him in his clinic in Singapore. Across the years, Professor Chen and his associates have treated and assisted thousands of couples and put them on the path to fertility. Professor Chen became interested in medicine and set out to apply himself to it when he was just 9 years old. He graduated from medical school in Singapore in 5 years instead of a typical 6, and subsequently studied obstetric and gynecology in Edinburgh and Glasgow. 3.5 years later, he was officially an accredited specialist. By the time Professor Chen was 28 years old, he was a fellow of the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, London, a fellow of the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and a fellow of American College of Surgeons. He chose to return to Singapore, becoming a lecturer in the National University of Singapore. 2 years later, he was made associate professor. It was during this period that he made the most important breakthroughs in his research on immunological infertility, which would help him later on in advancing IVF. After his stint at the National University of Singapore, Professor Chen was recruited by Flinders University in Adelaide, Australia, in order to lead the research team in infertility. In 1983, Professor Chen made history when he successfully delivered the world's first IVF-conceived triplets. The siblings, Chinara, Arun, and Jessica Guare, were a sensation in the medical world when they were first born. Shortly after, in 1986, Professor Chen experienced yet another breakthrough. He became the first person to successfully freeze the human egg. The development of this technique enabled women all over the world to circumvent age-related fertility issues by banking their eggs at a younger age and thawing them out later on their life when they are ready to have children. One of the most important uses of this technique comes in the case of cancer treatment. Young women who have to go through infertility-causing chemotherapy or radiation treatment are now able to freeze their eggs before embarking on their treatment. 9 years after going to Australia, Professor Chen was asked to return to Singapore by the Ministry of Health and the National University of Singapore. One of the first cases that he handled upon his return involved him delivering 6 babies from IVF for an Indonesian patient. One thing led to another, and before Professor Chen knew it, a prominent Indonesian politician was requesting for him to assist his son in having a pair of twins through IVF.
In this book, I will cover a range of fertility-related topics, including the history of infertility, preconception care, and fertility treatments and diagnosis. Use this as a guide. I wish you the very best in your journey. Signed, Professor Christopher Chen,